Thanks for staying with us. And the woes of the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, seem to have no end as the party's former chairman, Obed Asamoah, endorses the article written by former Chief of Staff Valerie Sawyer, which was highly critical of former President Rawlings. Dr. Obed Asamoah believes this amounts to a simple expression of opinion by the John Mahama appointee and must be encouraged. The NDC bigwig was speaking exclusively to Joy News' MFR Powell.
I congratulated her. I sent a text message congratulating her for speaking out her mind. I think it's very good for the party and good for the country.
Really?
Yes. People should speak out their minds. They shouldn't be intimidated by anybody or terrorized by anybody. You know, she's spoken her mind and she's entitled to do so.
This is the founder of the NDC. This is Jerry John Rawlings, somebody that nobody in the party has been able to deal with frontally in the way that Valerie Sawyer did. And you congratulate her?
I dealt with Jerry Rawlings frontally too, you know, so we are in the same boat.
But I'm sure you read critically some of the things that Dr. Valerie Sawyer said to Mr. Rawlings, buzzing like an agitated mosquito. He doesn't boom. He thinks that Mr. Rawlings believes he's the only saint, the junior Jesus, amongst several others. An article interspersed with sarcasm, and some have described as an insult. And in our Ghanaian culture, they say you can't insult an elder, especially your founding father.
Well, maybe the language may be kind of flowery in places, but the point she's making is that he's attacking everybody, you know, and he falls out with everybody, even including people who have worked closely with him. And that's what she's criticizing. And I think she's got a point there, you know.
So for you, the basis or the main issues that she raises are valid?
Yeah, they to some extent they are valid. Maybe the language in some places may be a little flowery, but she's made very valid points.
But they say it will further deepen the division within the NDC, considering that she might be in the Mahama faction and all that.
People must be used to criticism. That is the whole thing. You see, why should the division be wider or deepened just because somebody has spoken her mind? I really don't understand that. People should be tolerant. We should begin to accept the right of people to express their opinions freely. So I really don't see that what she has said is going to make matters worse than they are already.
Now, on the petition for the suspension of the former Attorney General Martin Amidu, Dr. Obed Asamoah said Mr. Amidu is not the only party member who has behaved this way, and so he's not the only one who warrants a suspension.
I've worked with him, and I know that he's an honest person, and issues of corruption and the rest are things that he would not tolerate. But you know, you can do things in a way that sometimes then the point that you are making loses its shine. You see, because sometimes his criticisms take on again the thing I was talking about. I mean, making one feel like you are holier than everybody else. You know, sometimes it looks like you are on a campaign of vengeance. You know. Or persecution, you know. Once you get that far, then it begins to kind of irritate. If any party member feels that somebody has gone contrary to the rules of the party, they're entitled to use the machinery of the party to deal with that person. But you know, one will have to be fair, because maybe Martin is not the only one who deserves that kind of petition.
Who else might deserve that kind of petition?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Is it Mr. Rawlings?
Your guess is as good as mine.
You think a petition should be filed against Mr. Rawlings as well?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Now, approximately 415 million adults worldwide have diabetes. by 2040. This figure is projected to rise to 642 million, according to the International Diabetes Federation. That is, if drastic steps are not adopted to manage the condition. In Ghana currently, about 4 million persons are estimated to be living with the disease. Speaking at a premix symposium in Accra, Danish Ambassador to Ghana, His Excellency Tove Dengbol, reiterated the Danish government's commitment to dealing with the disease in Ghana by the establishment of 2 diabetes support centers to complement 6 others it has established in the hospitals across the country. This, she maintains, will be spearheaded by trained healthcare officials to administer care to persons with diabetes. There's more in the following report.
It is estimated that 347 million people globally have diabetes, and in Africa, it is estimated that 8% of the population above 25 years have it. The Ghana Diabetes Association's last screening on selected urban areas estimated there are about 4 million diabetics in Ghana, more than half the number who are unaware they have the disease. To this end, the Danish government, in collaboration with global healthcare giants Novo Nordisk, is spearheading the base of the pyramid project to build diabetes support centers in hospitals across the country.
Novo Nordisk in 2010 initiated the base of the pyramid BOP project. 6 diabetes support centers have been set up in Ghana in collaboration with local hospitals and local health authorities. Some of you come from these hospitals, so you know well. It is the Ga South Municipal Hospital here in Accra, the Maombi General Hospital also in Accra, the Manya District Hospital in Ashanti region, Efia Nkwanta Regional Hospital in Western, and the Holy Family Hospital in Eastern, and Our Lady of Grace Hospital in Central. 2 more centers in Kumasi and Berekum will soon be opened.
Danish global healthcare giants Novo Nordisk have introduced a pre-filled human insulin pen which makes managing the disease less cumbersome. Unlike the vial and syringe, which can be complicated and time-consuming, the Flex pen prevents stigma and offers cheaper alternatives to managing the disease. Regional medical advisor at Novo Nordisk, Dr. Oladele Olagundoye, maintains the innovation has the potential of improving results of diabetes management in the country.
The value of the Flex pen is that it assures, treatment efficacy, ensures that our patients will get the right dose of their insulin at the right frequency.
Deputy Director of Medical Affairs of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Roberta Lamte, notes insulin is a game changer in diabetes management, without which patients with type 1 and type 2 diabetes will die.
Our main aim and our goal is to prevent complications. So we've heard today a lot about the Flex pen, we've heard about human insulin, but I'd like to say that you do want to focus on the desired results, which is to prevent complications.
With lifestyle modifications and regular exercises coupled with government policies, experts believe people can prevent the disease, and those who are living with the disease can manage it for a very long time.
Right now, 3 people have died in post-election violence in Kenya as opposition leader Raila Odinga claims the election results have been tampered with by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Odinga says the IT system for the Electoral Commission has been hacked, and that accounts for the president, and that is what accounts for the President Kenyatta's electoral victory. The contest between President Uhuru Kenyatta, a wealthy 55-year-old businessman, and Odinga, a 72-year-old former political prisoner and the son of Kenya's first vice president, has been a hard-fought election that stoked fears of possible violence. On Wednesday morning, the Electoral Commission website showed that Kenyatta was leading with 54.4% of the votes against 44.8% for Odinga. That is a margin of nearly 1.4 million votes after 94% of the votes were counted. Odinga rejected the partial results of the presidential polls, saying hackers infiltrated the database of Kenya's election body to manipulate the democratic process. This has triggered some violent protests in the country, which confirmed the fears of the citizenry that was reported before the election. We'll now be speaking with a lawyer living in Kenya, Douglas Jeshuki. Thanks for joining us here. How do you feel about what has been going on in your home country in the past few days?
So, hello. Thank you for having me. I'd like to say, first of all, that the voting process went on very well. It's the best process we've witnessed in many, many years. The electoral body was organized, and in most tallying centers and voting centers, voting ended on time, began on time, and where it had not happened, there were normal extensions, and the IBC kept a direct line of communication about this. This much has been confirmed by a lot of the international observers. We had 5,000 international observers who have, at this point, whether it's IGAD, whether it's the EU, the Commonwealth observers, and just now on TV, the Qatar Commission, they've given the voting and tallying process a clean bill of health. What's disputed is the transmission process from the tallying centers all over the country to the National Tallying Center here in Nairobi, where I am. And the Commission came out yesterday and said that there was no evidence of hacking on its database system. And that, of course, if there is any evidence, then one must or should proceed to court. As we speak, I think by the end of the day, there should be a declaration that Uhuru Kenyatta has won the majority, the constitutional majority, which in this country is 50% of the vote plus one. And then I think after that we will have a challenge at the Supreme Court by the opposition coalition, the National Super Alliance. With regards to the questions of violence, there have been small pockets of violence in what we call informal settlements around the country, but these are isolated and very small scale. Generally, there is calm. I am 3 kilometers from the central business district, and the shops remain closed because people are apprehensive. But actually, there is no violence or expectation of violence.
Right. So you are generally satisfied with what has been going on in the past few days?
Yes, we're generally satisfied. I mean, I voted in the election, and so to that extent, I say I have a lot of confidence in that process. It also seems to me that the results express the general will of the majority of Kenyans who cast their vote. So there is no contest about that. It's also clear that the ruling party now, Jubilee, has a majority. Not only now has a majority at the gubernatorial level, has also a super majority in terms of members of parliament across the country.
But Douglas, there are still a number of people who support Mr. Raila Odinga, and he is saying that there has been a tampering in the electoral system. You were just telling me about this transmission system. Couldn't that possibly cause any problems from your viewpoint?
In fact, there are a lot of people who support Mr. Odinga. As we speak, the tally of Mr. Odinga is at 6.6 million votes, and that works out to about 44% of the votes. So he speaks for a big constituency in this country. And however, there's been no credible, up to this point, there's been no credible evidence that there was tampering. And of course, it does cause agitation. It does cause agitation that this sort of claims have been in social media and have been in the formal media. But the observers, the external observers and the internal observers are pushing for a system where if there is any grievance, then the grievances should be addressed by the Supreme Court, which has sole mandate to deal with presidential petitions. We are not expecting violence of any nature because there are mechanisms to redress any malpractices. So I'd like to allay fears that Kenya will be banning or will be in any sort of widespread conflict.
Douglas, you seem to be expecting something to happen in the Supreme Court. That is, you seem to be expecting that Mr. Raila Odinga will be heading to court to contest this election results. You are a lawyer. What do you think could tip the scales for Mr. Odinga?
The documents that were tendered by Mr. Odinga were log files that ostensibly came from the electoral body, the IEBEC. Now, it's contested that these log files are actual proof of hacking. There's been a contest about that. But I think the question would turn on whether these log files are genuine when they are tendered at the Supreme Court. And if they were found to be genuine, then the Supreme Court would have to, on the very minimum, decide whether if there is such hacking, it was widespread enough to overturn the margin of 1.5 million votes that is the gulf between the two candidates. If they were to find that first there was such hacking and then the hacking was widespread enough to overturn it, then for sure we would have a recall of the election. But this is the only recourse that avoids violence, to go to the Supreme Court, because this is the established constitutional mechanism.
Right. Thank you very much, Douglas Gichuki. We'll be coming to you as this issue unfolds. And thank you very much for your time. That was Douglas Gichuki. He's a lawyer who plies his trade in Kenya. Of course, he's a citizen of that country as well. It's now time for business, and Daryl Kwao is standing by. You want to see this because the Bank of Ghana has forwarded a proposed bill to regulate mobile payments and settlement to the Attorney General's Department. Daryl Kwao has more after this.